Hey there, drone fans. Today is another incredibly exciting day here at the shop because earlier this morning, DJI just announced the brand new DJI Flip, which is their latest drone in the sub 250 gram category, which means it's small, it's portable, it's great for vacation, and it's jam-packed with features. And I've got one right over here. Now, I haven't opened it yet because I like to do the unboxing here on the channel so we can experience that together. I'll also cover the specifications so you understand exactly what the drone provides, and I want to talk about some of the incredibly innovative features that DJI has built into this drone because it's unlike any other drone they've ever constructed, and you can see from the front here, it looks like a penny farthing. Now look that one up. That's that old-timey bicycle where you sit way up on that front wheel and it's gigantic. It looks a lot like one of those, so maybe that's where the inspiration came from. Anyway, before I get into the unboxing, the drone is available in a couple of different combinations. You can find it with the original DJI RCN3 controller, which is the one you'll use with your phone or your tablet, and that's a great choice if you want to use a larger screen like a tablet, like an iPad mini or something along those lines. You can also find it with the RC2, which has the integrated screen and everything is inside the controller. And that's one of my favorite ways to fly because I can power up the controller, power up the drone, and get out there and start flying. You can also find it as a Fly More combination, which includes the RC2, and that's a great way to go because it includes the drone, the controller, a bunch of extra props, a bag, it's got a charging hub, some extra batteries, so it's really a great kit that gives you a lot of accessories you're going to end up picking up anyway down the road, and you can save a little bit by going with the Fly More combo. But anyway, I have the Fly More combo here in front of me, and I can't wait to get inside of it because I fly all the DJI drones, and this one is unique for a lot of different reasons, and I'm still trying to figure out where it fits in the hierarchy of drones because we've got the Neo, which is small and portable, and it's a selfie drone, it's an FPV drone, and we've got the Mini 4 Pro, which is really kind of a shrunk down professional drone in so many different ways. I think this one fits somewhere in the middle based on the specs and the flying characteristics, but I gotta get outside and start flying it, and to do that, I gotta tear the box open, so let's get going. All right, so I've got one of my slicers right here, which I love. This is a ceramic-based blade that just, you can't cut yourself with it, but it opens every box you've got. So let me get this guy open and take a look inside. Man, am I excited to look at this. There have been so many leaks about this drone that I've been dying to get my hands on one, and it finally showed up today. So I am super, super excited. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Oh, there's a flap on the back. All right, so the Fly More combination includes a bag. Now, I know I talk about these bags a lot, and I like the fact that DJI is including a bag because if the bag is in the box, everything fits inside the bag. And having a bag like this means my drone's protected, all my other accessories are protected, I can bring extra blades along, I can bring extra cables and chargers along, but more importantly, not only is it protected, but it's organized. So when I leave the house, if I have this with me, I know I've got everything I need to fly the drone because if I'm using like a duffel bag or a backpack and I throw a bunch of stuff in there, it's gonna clang around and get banged up. More importantly, I may forget something. So I like the fact that the bag comes with the drone. This is really nice. So the outside of this is pretty similar to other DJI bags where it's water resistant, easy to clean it up, and you've got a really nice little strap on the front here, a couple of heavy-duty zippers. Let me open this guy up and see what's inside. This is hands down my favorite kind of day, where I get to look at new technology. All right, so inside the bag, you can see there's the drone, there's the controller, and there's the charging hub. So let me pull those out first. Oh man, I can't wait to get that guy out. All right, so there's the standard RC2 controller. If you're flying a drone today using this, looks pretty much the same, but I'll have to get a closer look at it. And then here's the charging hub, which includes 2 extra batteries. So there's a battery in the drone and 2 extra batteries in the charging hub. And I really want to spend some time analyzing that. All right, nothing else in the bottom, but isn't that nice? They put little compartments in there to keep everything organized and keep it from banging into each other. All right, and then the top, there's another little pouch up here that's got a bunch of other goodies in it. So let's open that up and see what's going on. Well, there's a plethora of manuals. What else have we got? Uh-oh, desiccant package. Get rid of this. Don't leave this laying around. This is really dangerous to pets and kids and anybody that looks at this and thinks, well, it looks like sugar. I'll put it in my coffee. Don't do that. Chuck this. So let me get rid of that. All right, there's the props. What else have we got? Oh, another desiccant package. Well, there's 2 of them in there. All right, charging cable. What else? And a screwdriver. That's really nice. All right, so that's pretty much everything in the bag. Let me set this aside. Let me zip that up so I don't lose anything. There we go. All right, that looks good. Oh boy, this is a really cool looking drone. Wait till I get into that. All right, enough fooling around with the bag. Put that aside. All right, so what do we got here? Let's start with the small stuff. So it looks like I've got 3 sets of propellers. So there's an A and a B, just like there is in every other drone. You've got 1 full set, 2 full sets, 3 full sets of extra propellers. Now, the way this is designed, I don't think you're going to be changing those propellers that often because the way the cage protects those propellers, you'd have a hard time getting something inside there. One thing I'm going to be curious about is I do clean my propellers a lot on the other drones because when you're flying, you're up in the air and you've got debris and dirt and moisture. You've got bugs up there, so if you hit a mosquito or a bug, it's going to be bug juice all over the props. So cleaning those might be a little bit tricky. I'm going to have to spend some time working on that. They also include a really tiny microscopic screwdriver, which will help you change those props. So really nice that you did that, DJI. All right, charging cable, pretty standard USB-C to USB-C. That's for the charging hub or charging in the drone. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the charging capabilities. In the hub, you can simultaneously charge 2 batteries at the same time if you're using a 45-watt or higher charger. My recommendation is always to go with a 65-watt charger. That way it doesn't break a sweat when it's charging. You've got plenty of power, and it'll charge 2 batteries simultaneously. When those are done, it'll move on to the other 2 that are in the hub. If you're charging it in the drone, it's a lower current. I've got to look that up. I think it's around 15 watts, but the drone itself doesn't provide as much electrons through the drone to charge those batteries. So it's going to take a lot longer here than it will in the hub. That's one of the advantages of the hub. But if you're using the drone, you can still use a 65-watt charger, and the controller in the drone will knock that down to the current that's needed to charge those batteries. All right, so that's enough on the accessories. Let's take a look at this little packet. And I've had trouble before getting inside these bags, and DJI has done a great job. Now, this is easy. Done a great job with these new high-tension bags that are impossible to open up. All right, so basically here you're going to get, there's a QR code to go to the store to check things out. You've also got an overview. What else have we got? Accessory guide, information notices. Always read through this. This is for Europe, and there's another one here. Man, there's a lot of manuals in here. Another Japanese safety guide. Here's one for the Flip, safety guidelines for the Flip. And then here's the manual, quick start guide and everything else. So always read through these manuals. I know it's a lot of material to read through, but it's a good idea to do that because I'm telling you, this drone is incredibly simple to fly, but it's got features I think you're going to really appreciate. And I'll talk a little bit about those today because I didn't mention this before because I talked about the combos always having a controller, but you can fly this drone without a controller. You can actually, just like with the Neo, you can power it up, put it in your palm, pick a selection from their flight patterns, hit the button, and it'll automatically fly that pattern. It'll fly around you, it'll fly away from you, it'll chase you through the woods. It's got some pretty cool features built in. All right, so enough on the manuals. Let's take a look at the charging hub next because I'm always curious about how they change these. All right, this one looks pretty straightforward. Get rid of the bag. All right, so it'll hold 4 batteries. There you go. Hold 4 batteries. Got a USB-C port on the side, and I've got a power button right there to check the power of the batteries. Now these are in zombie mode right now because I haven't charged them yet, and that's the way they ship them. The minute you start charging this, these will take a charge, and then you're good to go. To remove them, you're going to push these 2 buttons and pop it out. The batteries are 3110 milliampere hours, so it's a high-density battery, which is going to provide up to 31 minutes of flight time in the drone. I think that's absolutely incredible. And the reason they can do that is they're using a newer battery chemistry. It used to be lithium iron phosphate or lithium polymer. The new ones are using lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt, which is a higher energy density. And what that means is they can pack more electrons into a lighter battery, which is a good thing for drones because the less the battery weighs, the further the drone can fly and the longer it can fly. You're not wasting energy keeping it in the air. All right, so there's 4 of them, and again, 2 at the same time. Really nice job on that. You can also use this as a battery bank, so if you've got batteries in there, you can charge external devices by plugging into the USB-C port. All right, let's take a look at the controller next. Now, if you haven't flown with an RC2, man, do I love this controller. This is an absolutely really smart controller in so many different ways. I like the screen. It's plenty bright out there in the sunlight. You've got foldable antennas on the top. You've got buttons on the top. You've got 2 joysticks here, power button, and a few other features. 2 wheels here for sort of looking down or tilting down and focusing. You've also got zoom. This will do up to a 4x zoom in 1080p, 3x zoom in 4K. It will record 4K at up to 100 frames a second. And here's the best part. It's got 150 megabits per second speed back from the actual imaging. So the sensor up front is super important. It's a 1/1.3 inch sensor, which is going to give you great images, good video, good pictures. It's got HDR built in, but the key thing is a big sensor and a decent sensor is not worth anything if you can't get that information from the sensor back to the imaging processing. So 150 megabits a second is super, super fast, which you're going to get a great image. It's also using OcuSync 4 technology, which is the latest tech from DJI, which guarantees 13 kilometers of connection distance to the drone. And again, you can't really fly that far because in the US, we've got a visual line of sight requirement, which means I can only fly the drone as far as I can see it. Now this one's a little bit bigger than the Mini, so I can see it probably a little bit further, but keep it in your line of sight when you're flying it. The reason that's important though is because that OcuSync 4 technology guarantees a rock solid connection even when you're in close. So if you're flying around buildings or trees or whatever, you'll have a good connection to your drone, which is really important. It also gives you, I'm going to say a near synchronous, I think it's 120 milliseconds or microseconds of latency between the actual image on the drone and the controller. And the reason that's important is because you want to have an immediate vision of what's going on with the drone on the controller. Because if you're flying in an area there's a lot of obstacles, you don't want to find out that the drone smacked into a wall a couple of milliseconds after it smacked into the wall. So you want as synchronous an image as possible, and that OcuSync 4 technology gives you a 1080p 60 frames a second feedback to the controller, whether it's your phone or it's on the actual RC2, which means I have an almost immediate view of what's going on with the drone, which is really great. All right, enough about the specs. Let's take a look at the drone. And again, DJI has gone through an evolution from the original Phantom series, which was a fixed airframe. They came out with the Mavic Pro, which was the original folding drone. They were the first guys to do it. It was a brilliant design in so many ways. They've carried that forward through the Air series and then the Mini series, which is smaller, but all basically the same kind of folding drone. This is a radical departure. This drone, I don't know where it came from. I know they have sort of a blue sky lab at DJI. I'm sure somebody was probably either watching an old-timey movie or maybe they were, I don't know, they were riding one of the penny farthings around the parking lot. But man, does that look like one of those bikes that you'd ride down the street, you know, with the big wheel in the front. But gosh, this is a gorgeous drone. It's a gorgeous drone. I'm laughing because I have no idea how they came up with this design, but I like it a lot. All right, so the top of it could be like a Mini, right? It almost looks like a Mini 4 Pro, but then what's with the props? The props don't pop out from the sides. The props pop out from the bottom. So this one folds forward, this one folds forward, and these two fold backward like this. Now listen carefully. What happened there? The drone would turn on. Now, of course, it's not as dramatic because the battery's not charged, but if that battery was charged, the minute you fold these props out, the drone turns on. Innovation, right? That's a feature nobody's thought of so far. Every other drone that I own, I set up the drone, I hit the power button, hit it again to turn it on. With this one, it knows you want to fly, so why is it going to force you to turn it on hitting the power button? I know it seems like a small thing, but that's the engineers at DJI thinking through, how can we improve the drone? You know, why do we have a power button on there to turn it on? Why don't we just turn the drone on when we open it up? So that's great. All right, so there it is. Now, size-wise, it's rather large. Now, the cage itself has got wires on the outside of it. You'd really have to work to get your fingers in there, but I have no worries whatsoever that I'm going to have any issues holding it in my palm for palm takeoff and landing. It is a larger drone. I like that because the Neo is a great drone, but it's probably, I don't know, 50% of the size, maybe 60% of the size. And the worry with the Neo is, number one, it's got a 2-axis gimbal. This has a 3-axis gimbal, which means it's going to be a lot more stable in the air for the images. But the Neo is small and it's light, which means it's getting bounced around out there in the wind. This one being bigger, I don't think there's going to be any problems at all because it comes in at 249 grams. Also, the props are bigger, which means they don't have to spin as fast as the Neo. Because if you've flown the Neo or any of the smaller drones, the faster the props spin, the higher the frequency of those prop noises or the prop noises, which means it's annoying. It can be very annoying if it's close to you. And if you're flying it near people, even though it flies really well, small props are really like whistling way up there in the frequency. This one having bigger props, I think it's going to be a little lower in that frequency band and probably less annoying. But I'll do all that testing against it. All right, so the drone itself has got a digital display up front. There's only 2 directional obstacle avoidance. It's down with both time of flight sensors and a camera, so it's going to know what it's coming down on, and it's got infrared on the front. It's a 3-dimensional infrared. There's still some debate whether that's LiDAR or not. I don't think it is LiDAR. I think it's just IR, but I'll play around with that. To pull the cover off, pull it out like that, and hey, look at this. There's a little rubber boot on the lensing there. That's interesting. That's a first. I'm not sure I need that when I put it back together. But again, I'd mentioned the 3-axis gimbal up front, so you've got all 3 directions of gimbal protection. And then on the front here is where the infrared is. But if you turn it on, you'll see little diagrams inside here that light up that show you which mode you've selected. So as you walk through the modes, whether it be follow me mode or selfie mode or circle me mode, you'll see that on the front. So if you want to fly this without a controller, just open it up, put it in your palm, hit the button on the side. That's the button to turn it off over there. On this side, there's another button. You can hit that button and walk through those different modes up front. And once you select it, it'll count down and take off and do its thing and then come back and land right in your hand. So what you've got here is really in so many ways, the next generation of what I'll call a selfie drone or a vlogging drone, as well as a legitimate drone, because I can fly this up to 13 kilometers away as long as I can see it with my Superman vision. So I've got a real drone and I've got a selfie drone. Now the big question outstanding still, is it going to be an FPV drone? Is DJI going to release firmware that allows this to fly with the new N3 goggles? I don't know at this point. That's one of those questions I keep asking, and they're smiling when I ask them that question. So maybe I'll get an answer, and maybe I'll just get firmware to test it. So if you want to see that happen, stay on the channel, and I'll keep asking them. But that's pretty much it for the unboxing. Now again, just to break it down, 249 grams, 13 kilometers of flight, 31 minutes of flight time on a fully charged battery. You can charge 2 of these batteries in the hub at the same time in about 40 minutes, so it charges really quickly. It's got the ability to record 4K up to 100 frames a second. Of course, it records 2.7K, 1080p, whatever you want. 48 megapixel camera on there, so it's going to take beautiful images. And one key thing I haven't mentioned yet is the fact that it's really designed to be sort of your flying companion, your flying photographer out there when you're in the woods or you're doing your vlogs. So when this goes up, one of the challenges with a lot of the other drones that can do that sort of self-following and you can talk to the drone is that their focus range is pretty far away. It's 30 feet, 40 feet. If they get in close, they can't really focus. This one's designed to focus. I guess the way I describe it is like an action camera on a selfie stick. So at arm's length, it's going to give you a really nice focus. And I'll test all that, but I like the fact that I can use it as a flying camera when I'm doing my vlogs out there in the street or in the woods or wherever I happen to be. And again, it's like having a cameraman right there, a camera woman right there on the site with me taking the photos and doing the video. I just can't wait to get it outside and start trying it. So that's all I had for today. I'm telling you, I am over the moon excited about this drone because I love new technology, and I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff I haven't figured out about this drone yet. So stay tuned to the channel because I'll follow up with clips on, showing you footage from it and testing things, answering your questions, all the things we'd like to do. I'll test the charging hub and go through a lot of different things that this drone can provide. But that's it for today. So good on you, DJI. I just love the innovation. I love the fact that you guys are constantly thinking about building new technology. This is just unique. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be the future of what they're going to design, but for today, you've got my attention for sure. I think this is an incredibly cool design. So again, thanks for watching, and until next time, as always, happy flying.